Alright, today in this video we're going to be breaking down a 18 Theater of Pain. Now we're going to end up timing this key with a couple seconds left on the clock, but we had 4 deaths, so we could have had upwards of a minute. The deaths weren't too punishing. I'll point them out as we get there, but we're going to talk about everything we did right, wrong, our general route through here, and just kind of nerd out about the run. So starting off, as you can see, we are running the Rogue Feral Druid Fury Warrior this time around, as well as the Resto Shaman. Of course, I'm the Brewmaster Monk, and with a Rogue in the group, this is going to allow us to Shroud skip the first pack, and we're going to be grabbing the Bloodhorn. It does have Spectral Sight, so it will pull naturally, so just getting ready to kind of taunt and, get aggro on it is kind of key to the start of this, because you don't want your melee to die. Our Feral Druid and our Rogue are going to be kind of alternating soothes on the Bloodhorn. That is going to be the primary focus, and as a Brewmaster Monk, we are going to be trying to utilize Touch of Death to get additional damage for the boss fight by using it on the Bloodhorn for the Talent Fatal Touch. Now, we're going to be starting off by using our Ringing Ritual Mud Trinket, and then later throughout the fight, we're going to kind of roll in other, damage reductions, whether that be Dampen Harm, Fortifying Brew, etc. So the general pacing for this fight, especially if you're playing with a full melee group, is you stack for the kind of like poop that's going to spawn. You want to rotate around to keep uptime, and then immediately after that, you want to spread very quickly. So there I was able to land Touch of Death on the Bloodhorn, which is going to give me that Fatal Touch buff for 30 seconds. Now, while I don't really have cooldowns available to use, it is a small damage increase, which is going to help speed up this fight. Because this is 3 target, this puts a lot of emphasis into Blackout Kick. So we want to try using Blackout Kick as often as possible. Here we are, we're stacking, we're moving to the left, we're stacking again, we're moving to the left once more. Then we're going to be trying to land a kick, and then we're spreading out really quickly. Unfortunately, we had no range kick up. And then we're going to be spreading for the Searing Death. If we're stacked for even a second, chances are the tick of the damage is going to kill both players or kill one of the players. So you always want to be super, super careful. We do want to be a little bit careful of the Mortal Strike. This is the Tank Buster that's going to come out here. There's some that actually overlap with other like damaging events, especially like the Smash or Searing Death. When that happens, that's when you want to be using a defensive. For the most part, just using Celestial Brew, rotating through your cooldowns like Dampen Harm and Fortifying Brew is just all going to be pretty good here. Once the Noxious Spores come out, we're stacking and we're moving to the left. We're going to land our kick, and then we're going to move the boss quickly, and then again, we're spreading for that Searing Death. The pattern is pretty routine. It's going to be basically stack, rotate, spread. So trying to give room to our Rogue here. And the kill priority for us, we generally like to kill Sathel the quickest, which is the orange marked target. He's the one who applies Searing Death, which for our group specifically is, it not only does it do the most damage over the course of the fight, but it has the biggest kill potential, or the highest lethality rate for this encounter. Now, luckily we cleaved them pretty much down as even as possible. But after that, you want to kill Desia, because if Desia is the last one alive and she gets a smash off, it's doing like 20% more damage, which will pretty much kill your group at this level of key. But pretty clean execution. As you can see, Blackout Kick did a lot of the heavy lifting here. It does take priority over Keg Smash, so you do want to basically keep up Charred Passions and Blackout Kick as often as possible, because it's hitting all 3 of the targets, especially with our tier set. Very good. So we're going to be heading to the Halls of Might first, which is going to be Zav's Wing. Now, the way that we do this is we're going to roll right in. We're going to grab the Arbalest, start the RP. Now, unfortunately, we got the not great mini-boss. I forgot his name. Dokig, the Brutalizer. Now, we're going to be pulling him in right away because we want to get some cleave on him. Now, why he's so dangerous is because the Savage Flurry cast, while it can be dodged, it's a very fast frequency of hits. And the Brewmaster will basically diminish their dodge chance against that target, even with Elusive Brawler, so you end up taking most of the damage. Now, while you can stagger a lot of it, it makes your stagger go up really, really fast. So the problem with this guy is that he just does a lot of damage. The other guy really doesn't. So ideally, we try to get the other guy, or we hope that it's the other guy. Now, for some reason, the melee DPS I play with really like this guy. They find him easier to stay on. They find that they have higher uptime, which is great for them, but it means that I have to kite more. Now, the range on the Savage Flurry is like 15 yards or 20 yards, so you can kite it out. So if I don't have a defensive active, what I'm doing is I'm simply just kiting right at the start of the cast. I'll roll backwards. At this point, I had my Ring Ritual Mud Trinket as well as Fortifying Brew available or active, so I felt fairly tanky there, but I was still kind of scared. Earth Crush is going to come out again. Unfortunately, I thought it was the Savage Flurry, so I kind of panicked, and now I'm trying to roll away. You can see that even just a couple melee hits on me just chunked me down to 30% health. So this mob is not super great. And because I'm not playing with a ranged player, I can't even really use my Transcendence Link Spirits to actually get away from him quickly. Once Fortifying Brew is up again, I'm just committing that along with Celestial Brew, being able to eat most of the damage. So every once in a while, if I have a defensive up, I'm going to commit it. If not, I'm just kiting like I am here. I didn't have Celestial Brew, so I kited despite having Fortifying Brew active still. And then eventually we are going to get ready to do some skips. So we're going to be skipping 2 mini bosses in this route. So this is the only mini boss we have to deal with. Right there, I just employed my linked spirits tech. So I kited away, and then as he chased me, I ported back to CL, our rogue. So we're doing a little countdown in comms, and then we're running past the first mini boss. We're making sure we didn't pull it, and then we're heading into this. Now the rainbow wall is for us to know where not to go past, because we don't want to trigger the next mini boss RP, because we are also going to be skipping the mini boss. Now, if it happened to trigger, there is a way around it by simply having the tank pull it off to the side, and you either have to do a death skip, or if you're like me and you play Shadow Meld or Night Elf, you can Shadow Meld off the mini boss if you're able to create enough distance, which with this composition I would be able to. Now our primary focus here is actually not the captain. We are single targeting down one of the Arbalists. Luckily, Feral Druid, the way that their damage ends up working is it's not coded as AoE, so they're able to do actually a lot of damage in this pack with their CDs. He committed Berserk and Convoke. So that's going to actually delete both of the Arbalists before the Captain. Now, one thing we've talked about up to this point, or at this point in the key, is that we can go. These conscripts will follow us into boss, and actually it might even be more beneficial to have a little bit of funnel. Now, we're spending some time killing them here. In a coordinated group in a high-end key, when you're up against the clock and it's going to be tight, running with these guys is totally fine. Now, the only person in our composition that we think will struggle, not struggle, but who is the most likely to not make the skip is our Shaman, because he has no quick mobility that allows him to go from point A to point B very quick, like Heroic Leap or Grapple or Transcendence. So we kind of go on hit, like we do a countdown in comms, but it's really on the Shaman to get the RP started, and then everyone else follows. The Druid can wild charge. I transcend to the Rogue using Linked Spirits, and he uses Grapple, and then we also have Heroic Leap. So the way that this boss fight works, especially in the highest key, is that the first banner is the most deadly banner, because he goes into his like kind of AoE combo abilities almost immediately after spawning it. So you need a lot of damage for it. So our Fury Warrior, our Rogue, and myself saved up enough damage. We saved, well, I actually didn't have Touch of Death here, but generally I would save Touch of Death for this banner. And now the rest of the banners are going to be fairly chill. Now, there is a common strategy where people actually they ignore banners completely. Our composition, unfortunately, does not allow that. The only way we could do it, I guess, is our warrior would have to play Intervene, but the precise movements that it would require would be a little obnoxious. I would be able to Tiger Lust our Shaman, most likely, and then our Druid and our Rogue would probably have no issue, and I could also eat stuff if I needed to, but I also have things like Roll, which is totally fine. So at this point, all we're doing is we're just focusing down banners. I believe in this run specifically, I ended up holding Touch of Death for a problematic banner, which I don't know if we ended up getting. This fight is very rinse and repeat, where it's simply just kill banners and PvP as quick as possible. So our general priority, I believe, here is Warrior beats all, Rogue beats Druid, Druid always loses. So that's kind of the order that we do if people get sent down. It's not worth, it's never ever worth PvPing down there. Like, don't strongman. If you're in a pug and someone's coming at you and trying to kill you, just be the bigger person and sit down, like spam sit. The best way to do it is if it's a range or if it's a melee player trying to hit you, whether you're melee or your range, is turn around and spam sit so they can't miss and they always hit, and they increase critical. I believe it increases critical chance to be hit if you're sitting down. But anyways, that's the best way to do it. If you can get everyone back up as quick as possible, it gives your healer time to top people before this combo. That's simply the name of the game. Now, it's going to look like our Druid's not going to be doing a lot of damage here. First off, I don't believe he had cooldowns coming into this fight. But second, he's getting sent down almost every single time. So he's naturally going to be doing less damage over the encounter. Here comes another banner. Now, Lust is coming up, but this is a very good pace. If you're skipping both mini-bosses, you want to be near the end of the fight, like sub 20% on Zav when Lust is coming back up. If you're doing this route, there are plenty of routes in here. What's kind of cool about Theater is while it is very linear, once you're in a certain wing, you can go to any wing in any order. Now, this is the order that we feel like is strongest for our composition because Lust is going to come up for a very, very big pull. He is sub 14%, sub 13% when Lust comes up. We're going to still have a window where we can get 4 Lusts in this dungeon if we feel like we want it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So there isn't a lot of defensive usage on this fight. The Brewmaster can dodge and stagger his combo. So even there, he landed one of the couple of hits on me, and I still didn't get killed without a defensive up, without Celestial Brew, pretty much without anything. This fight is very tame. This entire dungeon is very snooze, I would say, for a Brewmaster. All right, so we finished the fight at 1.25 mil. Pretty good. I've seen a lot of Brewmasters are swapping to Master of Harmony at this point. I'm still playing Shado-pan. I think it's better for this composition. I think it brings way more single target damage than Master of Harmony can in most scenarios. Now there's some where if you get like funnel onto boss, like you can make an argument where Master of Harmony might do more single target, but I do think Shado-pan is generally stronger for single target. And you can see that throughout like the raid and stuff too. All right, so we're going to be lusting this pull. Now, normally we pull in the patrol with this, but it was in a bad path. You can see it's like all the way at the end of the hallway. So we're waiting until some of this other stuff gets kind of low, and then we're going to be going in. But the Feral Druid's cooldowns here are going to be exponential. And then as soon as the patrol hits the end of the hallway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to paralysis one of the sludge spewer, and we're going to pull in the patrol. And what this does is it allows us to still kick the Decaying Filth where it's needed, but we can also have enough kicks for the Withering Discharge. If you pull in all 4, you're committing 4 of your 5 kicks in this comp to just kicking the Withering Discharge. And then in that case, the Decaying Filth casts are going to start doing a lot of damage to your group. So you do want to be careful on how many you pull. Now, of course, if you're playing like with VDH or Boomkin, or you have like, I mean, you can't really have more than 5 kicks, but if you have multiple ways to stop mobs, then you could probably pull more. But for us, this felt like the best way to actually handle this pull. And so what we're doing now is we're kind of making our way down this like bridge path thing because we're trying to get in position to see where these patrols are at. Now, in the worst case scenario, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the gas bag to the left while my group runs by, and then I'm going to port to CL and Shadow Meld. But luckily, we had a really good patrol there. So I'm going to get Breath of Fire ready. Pre-casting Breath of Fire is a really good tip / strategy. I would recommend some of you kind of try to employ. I don't, I'm kind of dumb. I don't even know if that's a word. But basically, what this allows you to do is it allows you to, you can breath first, you can then keg smash, and then if you're trying to get threat, you can like spinning crane kick at full Charred Passion's effectiveness, or you can go into a blackout kick, especially if it's empowered. And then you can apply Breath of Fire for the DR shortly after, making sure you're nice and healthy. But if you're going in with a defensive on pull, the Breath of Fire DR is kind of minimal. If you're not going in with the DR available, obviously getting Breath of Fire active on the mobs as quick as possible is your best bet. But for gathering packs or for getting threat early, make sure you have Breath of Fire active. Anyways, this gas bag, now that it's about 30% health, 25%, and it's doing this frontal, I'm going to roll backwards, pull this pack, make sure I have Charred Passions active, and I'm going to start spinning to try to get threat. The Ring of Pieces to prevent some of the early leaps from hitting our group on top of the gas bag, because some of the overlapping damage between the leaps, the Decaying Filth, plus the gas bag's stench could be lethal. And we've had deaths in this area before, and so we do our best to stop everything. Now, we've talked about also just pulling this pack in immediately. The way that would work is we would actually just rally on pull, along with a lot of our cooldowns. Defensive cooldowns, I should say. Because this is clearly a waste of time just handling one little blighted sludge spewer by itself. Now, the next thing you're going to see is going to be pretty common with most people nowadays. We're going to be pulling this trash into boss. The only thing you have to look out for here, well, at the tank there's a lot, but this orange marked horror needs a kick on the meat shield so it can die quickly. This is a lot of tank damage early on. Once you get this trash down, the tank's not going to be in too much danger, but between Decaying Strike, Hateful Strike, and the Devour Flesh, All three of those are tank busters. They do a ton of damage. So it's very important that you try to stop what you can and you use defenses where you need to. Honestly, probably when we start attempting 19s, if we have rally available, I might actually have rally on earlier in the poll here. Now that I have Celestial Brew up and Dampen, I'm feeling a little bit tankier. What we're going to do is we're going to use Paralysis on this, on these like little Thrasher dudes leftovers. So the reason we do this is because the the little leaps or the thrashes that the leftovers do, it's a ton. And because we're playing with a full melee composition, sometimes if we're stacked and they jump at the same time, it's going to end up like pretty much killing us. And so luckily we were able to land a blind on that corner one. For some reason, some of these CCs don't break that quickly. Paralysis is one of the unique ones that doesn't break on the damage that's being taken. And I don't know if that's a bug. This used to work back in Shadowlands, but I guess like things like Frozen Trap and Blind seem not to work as much anymore. Unfortunately, we put a dot on that one. What happened there, though, is our Feral Druid died because he got leapt on twice. Simple as that. And it's because people were stacked. So that's kind of the main reason we end up trying to CC one out with Paralysis. Every other set is generally the lineup. And then we want to be killing it as often as possible. So we are also using Earth Grab Totem to keep one out for a long period of time. And what this actually ends up doing is it staggers the leaps quite nicely. So the leaps aren't ever going to overlap at the same exact time. The leaps have roughly like a 6-second cooldown. I'm not tracking it on my UI, but it's roughly every 6 seconds. And there we go. We get the Paralysis. This time it doesn't get broken by someone's dot, which is good. And if there's ever more than 2 active in a poll, you need to focus them down and kill them. And then this fight gets pretty chill. So here, our warrior accidentally got clipped by the bleed, and so we committed Link there. Now Link, it's not going to be used, so it was a very good Link to do there. It kept the warrior alive. The warrior could have easily died through the bleed. He also had Enrage regen up, but definitely try not to get stunned on the level 18 key, because it could be very problematic. But as you can see, the leftover in the corner of the screen, 23 seconds left on Paralysis. It's almost dead. It's just bleeding out over time. It's 2% every second. So you don't actually have to end up doing that much damage to it. As you can see, it dies there. And now on the next set, I am free to Paralysis if needed. But as you can see, our Shaman using that Earth Grab Totem is keeping these things out. And then what our Feral Druid is doing is using his free, I guess, root casts on his clear casting, allows us to then solidify that mob inside of that root, which doesn't break on the damage that is being taken either. So unfortunately, we rolled a little too close there and broke it out. But we're looking pretty good. This is a fight that we are fairly, I would say we're pretty well practiced at, but there's still some improvement. The Earth Grab and Root Tech is something that's a little bit new to us. The Paralysis thing I've been doing pretty much since basically PTR. I didn't really play Brewmaster in Shadowlands until the very, very end when this was no longer a dungeon that was available, but it's a fun strategy nonetheless. And so our Gorechop split was 18:31, so we're looking pretty good. We do have 2 deaths at this point, so without the 2 deaths, it would have been 18 minutes pretty much flat, I would say, maybe a little less. Our Druid was dead for quite some time on that fight, so we probably could have sped it up by about 10 seconds or so, maybe even 15 without the death, but that's okay. All right, so this next strat, this is a very common thing we're going to see. Most groups do this. I feel maybe I say that maybe I'm jaded, or maybe it's because I don't pug enough. But pulling all the souls to the end of the hallway is very good strategy here. We're going to use Shroud, and as long as people are in the Shroud, no one should get shackled except myself because I'm the only one active in combat. We're going to pull the Guardian in, and yeah, this pull's pretty chill. What we're going to see is if there's multiple bind souls that are out, like more than 3 going at the same time, we're going to commit some type of AoE CC. So I used a leg sweep there to stop. And then we are now going to be using things like Rallying Cry to kind of keep us through that first storm. And then we should have Spirit Link in the next 10 seconds for the second storm if needed. I believe, if I remember correctly, maybe I'm thinking of a different run, but I think we send Link and then it ends up like getting close to dying anyways. So I'm going to use Ring of Peace here just to knock them away, just to make sure their casts aren't going, and then they're going to try to come at me, and then they're going to get bounced back again. And then we do commit link. Okay, so this one, we made it all the way through the link. The vulnerability comes out almost immediately afterwards, and then we finish off this guy. So now we're going to be doing something really, really unique that not a lot of pug groups will do. So I'm going to be putting this orb on the left-hand side, and I'm going to be going through, but my group is not going to follow. What they're going to do is once I land, they're going to take the orb out, put it on the right-hand side, and go to the right platform. I'm then going to get aggro, roll, dash, and come down to the Maguses. Now I'm going to let these Bone Spears go off because it will not kill me because it's physical damage. And then the next set of casts, we're going to get Purges on, we're going to kick, and then we're going to focus down the left Magus, or I guess the right-hand Magus when you're coming through the portal. And then we're coordinating kicks and CCs. So stopping things like, using things like Leg Sweep, using things like our Blind, our Roar, our Typhoon, our Ring of Peace if needed. We can use all of these to stop everything. Now, the thing about snapping is some of the mobs are immune, or I guess they're evading damage for a few seconds, but you want to prioritize the Magus down. But what this does is it allows us to kind of save time on a different pull we would have done later. If you don't do this strategy, but you want to do the same route, you just all go to the left, and then you pull in these two Maguses on the side of this platform, as you can see down to the right. There's two Maguses there. You can pull them in at your leisure. I would recommend doing it towards the end of the pull, not at the beginning, because double or triple Magus is very, very dangerous. So here we are, we're getting the one Magus. We're getting a quick kick. Unfortunately, the Rake Stun prevented him from being nice and stacked with the group. But Magus is our kill prio. We have assigned kicks. We have a kick order for our Magus, and we have someone watching the volley cast on the Soulbinder. Now, our Shaman is trying to kick on cooldown because he's going to be getting a Shadow DR from kicking, which is very good. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to pull in the souls and not the Soulbinder by using Paralysis. Because the Soulbinders are deadly and we need multiple kicks, we don't want to pull it in too early. We do have Berserk, though, now active, so now that Berserk is going, we do pull in the second Soulbinder. The first Soulbinder will die before his next volley, and now we're just trying to live through this cast. So we have Healing Stream Totem, obviously some big healing throughput from our Shaman as well, and since we're stacked in the Healing Rain, it's going to be big throughput. I'm sitting on the orb right now. It looks like I'm not attacking, but I am. It's just kind of a weird buggy animation. And now we're going to be going to the left once again. This is going to be a nice big double pull. This pull is very fun to do. You're going to kick this right Dusk Speaker immediately. We kick the left one as well. And then we're going to pull in the Soulbinder with Provoke, and it's going to get everything nice and stacked. Ever since Blizzard added these frontal animations, they are so good. They're so clear. I love this. I hope Blizzard keeps doing this. I hope they keep adding it to older dungeons as well, because these new visual mechanics make it just a lot easier to play. It makes a lot of these bigger pulls that used to be very, very hard and very scary much easier. I remember very early in the season, we bricked so many keys at this point because we have some people who weren't able to decipher which tornado was facing from what direction and which Dark Speaker. And now it's very easy and very clear. So once this pack goes down, I'm going to be grabbing the other pack as well that we can continue cleaving. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to be using Spinning Crane Kick. Unfortunately, I keg smashed her. That was not great. Our Shaman's going to knock him closer, and then we're going to land a kick, which should be able to drag them nice and close to the last Dark Speaker. So trying to get them stacked is like a little bit of a chore because there's so many different casts going on. The Dark Speakers, they'll do their Spirit Frost cast, but if you kick it, they go into their frontal. And then they go into their curse and they go back into Spirit Frost. So it's very difficult to move them because you can't lock them out of their school that they're casting other spells from. Because it's like one is Frost, one is, and then the other two are Shadow, but those can't be kicked. So that pull goes down, and now we're heading through our last portal here. Now, I've seen some people do some fancy skips to get around this portal, but I don't know how to do it. So we're going to just do this pull natty. I'm going to be kicking the Magus first. I basically say we don't need to kick the Dark Speaker. It's tank damage. I don't need defenses for the next fight, so if I need to use a defensive on Spirit Frost, I will. But basically, focus the Magus, kick the Soulbinder, keep those mobs under control, and the Dark Speaker will die naturally over time. Now, one thing that we like to do, or try to do, unfortunately I got a little lag spike there in-game, or stuttered frames. What you can do as a warrior, not just protection, but if you're playing Arms or Fury, if you taunt the Dark Speaker and then kick and Spell Reflect the Spirit Frost cast, it does about, at this level of key, it's doing about 8 million damage, I believe. So our warrior tried to land one earlier, but I think he used it on the wrong mob. But it's all good. Alright, and now we're heading into Kul'tharok. This fight's kind of a snooze. There's not much going on. you're going to notice me do pretty much like an AFK simulator here. Now, we are calling out a kick order. We're going to try to let Spell Reflect go. If it's ever going on our warrior, we're going to try to let him Spell Reflect the cast because it is in a substantial amount. Now, this frontal does almost nothing. As you can see there, I used pretty much nothing to mitigate that. You're going to see that these Dark Orbs are going to just like, or the whatever these are called, just go right through me. Now, unfortunately, Killing Spree killed our rogue there once again. Goddamn Killing Spree. We're going to get him up pretty quickly. It's fine. Ursol's is committed to keep the ads nice and slow. They're going to get sucked back if they get too close to the boss. We also have Ring of Peace. So the idea with these ads is that we're actually hitting the boss still. Well, our Feral Druid's not. He's using them to get some funnel damage here with his bleeds and getting some free bite procs. But for the most part, what we're doing is we're trying to keep the ads nice and alive and healthy. And if they get close, all we have to do is commit Ring of Peace and some knockbacks. We have Typhoon, we have Ursol's, we have... Our Shaman is not playing knock up, he's playing knock back on his Thunderstorm, so he's also able to knock back. So overall, it's a pretty tame fight for us. Yeah, I don't really know what else to talk about. We're just doing a kick order. One thing you can say, or can do, and this is something that we actually tried after this run. We ran back like a 16 and a 17, I think yesterday. This was recorded last week, or not recorded, but this run was done last week. But this week, at the time of recording this video, we've done a couple tests where you only kick if it's on you, and the tank only kicks if it's a repeat. And I don't know if that's like, we think it actually works pretty well. And then what it does is it means like the warrior will always land a Spell Reflect because he'll be the one who's in charge of kicking his own cast. And then let's say it goes on the warrior a second time, he can kick again. But if it goes on a warrior a third time for some reason in a row, he can then I would step in and kick. So unfortunately, Spell Reflect came up a second too late there. Not a big deal. And yeah, this boss fight gets really, it's kind of just boring. One thing you'll notice is I'm not trying to move too much. I don't dodge the orbs, clearly. They don't do enough damage to warrant moving for it. I'm going to try to hit, maybe with Exploding Keg here. So making sure that I'm applying my Mystic Touch to all of the ads is also good, because we do want them to die and we want them to take more damage. But what I was saying about not moving too much, I'm always kind of standing adjacent to purple. So purple is where our healer generally likes to stand, because that's where we're going to be dropping the ads. And the reason I don't dodge these orbs is because I don't want to make... I want to make the frontal consistent. So what melee DPS generally won't, stand near me. As you can see, they're all kind of standing by diamond anyways. And it means that they can, spread out for Will of Darkness and stuff. As you can see, I'm standing kind of adjacent, not really moving. And yeah, making the fight as less hectic as possible. So this third draw soul cast is kind of our tunnel condition. We're always going to tunnel no matter what the health is on this third draw soul. We can use it for funnel. Again, like applying bleeds. As you can see, we've rooted the mobs. We're not even like touching them basically at this point. If our Feral Druid needed to, he could, apply some bleeds to it to get some funnel. But again, sub 10%, it's a chill fight. And now with 5 minutes remaining and a final lust of the dungeon coming up in 4 minutes, we're going to be able to lust the very end of the fight. Now we are missing count, but we are going to be pulling these contenders and ritualist into the arena, and we're going to be pulling the boss onto this trash pack. Now it's kind of awkward to set up. You need a couple of kicks. Our shaman is eventually going to get himself in a position where he can knock them into the arena, as you can see here. We have Ring of Peace as well. We also have Typhoon if we want to knock it even closer. Ideally, we would Typhoon, but I don't think we do. The boss does take some time, so what this does is it's allowing us to just use this time efficiently, because what's normally happening here is you're just standing around waiting for the boss to spawn. The boss just became active now. So I'm going to be getting myself in a position to pull it. Now, this Death Wish, you don't want to soothe it. Because when they are enraged, they do more damage, but they also take more damage. So let the soothe sit. Now, of course, if your tank is taking a lot of damage and about to die, soothing it could help keep them alive, but it also means the ads are going to be alive longer, which means they have to take them longer, and it kind of has a snowball effect. Now, luckily for me, I'm going to just I commit Dampen Harm early to the pull. I also have Celestial Brew. I use a Trinket. Pulling it as a Brewmaster is not too dangerous. We're going to attempt to commit a Celestial Brew to every Reaping Scythe, and if it's ever overlapping with other mechanics, we're going to use things like Diffuse, Fortifying Brew, etc. I do have access to Zen Med in very, very cheeky moments where I don't feel safe to the Reaping Scythe, but at this key level with my amount of gear, I'm sitting at 49% crit right now and 30% first. The crit's actually from Sephorian Pacemaker, that's about to go down a lot. But sitting at these stats means that I'm going to be taking, obviously, a lot of healing from Celestial Fortune. My absorbs are going to be larger because of Celestial Fortune. I also have a lot of verse, so the damage I'm going to take upfront from these sites, not too dangerous. Unless it's that hit, which does 80% of my health through post-stagger. Funny. And now this fight isn't crazy. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be lusting pretty much as it comes up with CDs. And that will be in phase 2. We all kick our own ad. Luckily, playing with 5 kicks means that everyone can do that. If you're playing with a healer who does not have access to a kick, I recommend still everyone try to kick their own ad, and then pull the boss and the other ads that were interrupted to the healer ad, which obviously wasn't interrupted, just to get them grouped easier. Now, when you push, when you phase, it's very important that you don't phase with an overlapping mechanic. So this grasping rift that's coming up in 5 seconds, we want to beat that. Because if we're getting sucked and we're taking damage from the rift at the same time this goes off, you die. And as you can see, our Feral Druid, I think he had Vigor on him, but he had Barkskin. He could have gone Bear Form. That hit is super dangerous. Now, luckily, he didn't send his cooldowns or anything like that, so we did lose 15 seconds because we're not under 30 seconds left on the timer yet, but he still has his cooldown, so he's going to be able to kind of gain his bearings again and, yeah, send big damage in the boss. So as soon as he pops those, we're going to be lusting in about 10 seconds with Avatar. Actually, we pop lust now because Avatar will come up, and then we're going to attempt to move away from these contenders. This is one of the scarier overlaps. It's Suck, Contenders, plus Rift, or not Rift, whatever these circles are called. Manifest Death, I believe. And then, yeah, just get your own kicks. Of course, the Rogue being able to vanish and or, whatchamacallit, Cloak of Shadows, can always cloak off his thing, or pre-immune it so we don't get an extra ad. Moving away from the contenders. I try to move, when there's contenders spawning, I like to move towards the edge of the room. Actually, I mean, I just really move, now that I'm thinking about it, I just move to wherever there's the most amount of space. We're going to attempt to bait this frontal towards the cows or towards the center, which we do here. And then my group should be nice and safe. The frontal can target anyone, so it was kind of lucky that it went on me. It could have easily targeted them, and they would have had to make like a nice tight movement, but it's all good. Contenders plus adds again. Now I lag out here, so I didn't know what was going on, and then everyone kind of snapped back to their positions, so it kind of freaked me out for a second. I was having like, maybe some of you have had this issue, but I've been having a ton of issues with like frame stuttering and frame lagging ever since this patch. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's a setting I need to adjust, but it's been kind of obnoxious if I'm being honest. So last set of contenders, I'm going to just go right to the edge. Not the best movement, but it's all good because our melee are all on top of the boss still. And we time the key with 18 seconds remaining with 4 deaths. So if, account for the 4 deaths, maybe like a minute or so we could have had left on the key. 19 is going to be very, very tight. 19 will probably be one of the highest keys that we do this season. There's a lot of things that we can, save time on. Some of the chaining from like bringing the conscripts into Zav, making sure we're chaining more aggressively through the Barrows of Carnage before Gorechop, that kind of stuff we can definitely like take advantage of more. Obviously the deaths are a big part of it, but yeah, this was done. And I think our entire group was around the 670, 672 item level. So yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the run. Hope you guys learned something. I will be doing commentaries for the rest of my 18s that I complete this season. So as I complete them, I will attempt to put them out. I have Dark Flame and I'll do the Motherload. I did a quick little snippet of Motherload the other day in a video, but a lot of you guys want to see the full run. So I'll do that soon. Anyways, hope you're all staying happy, healthy, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.